1 week season fam, La Familia, welcome back to another edition of DFS Labs Fanduel edition, week 7. We are coming to you. Another 10-game slate is on the horizon. We've got some teams coming off bye. We've got 3 teams playing on a short week after the doubleheader Monday night. We are all just witnesses to the Rico Dowdle experience over the last couple weeks. We've got some potential wide receiver situations, players coming back from injury. That can shake some things up. Not quite as much value as maybe we've seen at the lower end of things a couple weeks ago with cheaper running backs. And then even last week with Dowdle still being only 6,600 coming off his huge game, posted another huge game. This week he gets the Jets. And then we've got, in my opinion, there's 3 or 4 defensive spots that are just like smash spots. I think this could be a week where we see a defense score 20 to 25 points. And there's several that I'd be pretty surprised if they don't end up with double-digit points. So kind of which of those defense separates will probably be a key to the slate as well. Rare that's kind of one of the first things that comes to mind, but I do think it is relevant this week. With that being said, we'll go ahead and bring in my esteemed co-host, Maximus. How we doing?
Howdy. Man. Deja vu for a 3rd week in a row, I believe. 10-game slate, 3 times in a row. Pretty interesting. Coming off of week 6, I had a 12th place finish in the 5-entry max that I usually do. So definitely some pathways to a first place based on players that I had left. Didn't work out to that extent, but had a solid week last week and looking forward to digging in with you this week.
Yeah, it was an interesting one in the fact that the afternoon games were kind of boring. Josh Jacobs had a nice game, but not a whole lot materialized in terms of those 3 late game environments. It was kind of there wasn't there was all the scoring in that early window. But the 49ers Bucks, obviously that was a fun game to watch. But there wasn't any smash scores there. The Titans, they're a train wreck. So that Titans Raiders game was, it'd be an insult to paint everywhere to say it was like watching paint dry. And then the Packers Bengals game, kind of couple guys got there, did what we hoped they would do. Kraft got in the end zone. Jacobs had a huge game. Chase had a nice game with Flacco, but it certainly didn't turn into a smash spot for a game environment. So it was kind of a boring afternoon, frankly. But that's why we play. It's always kind of something different in that regard. I've actually. While we're here, I'm going to go ahead and pull up last week's bottom-up build contest. I'll go ahead and share the screen. We talked about this last week. And so the winner this week was Shiv Daddy. He took second on the scoreboard, but the person who took first, remember in this contest, I have it right in the contest name. You've got to leave $5,500 in salary. So the first place person, they used all $60K. So didn't qualify. So our official winner would be Shiv Daddy. Took second place. You can see my lineup right next to his. He went heavy on the Raiders, had Ashton Genty, Michael Mayer, and the Raiders defense. So that block there basically combined for 45 points. And then he had Dowdle and Tet McMillan each at 6,600. They combined for a little over 50 points. That was his core, and then rounded it out. He had Trevor Lawrence, played Zach Charbonnet with him, which he didn't do anything. But I guess that was kind of a correlation. He was trying to correlate with Lawrence, and then Diggs and McConkey to round it out. So congrats to Shiv Daddy, 146.62. We do have the link to this week's contest once again in the description on YouTube. So go ahead and check that out. Otherwise, I posted it in Discord, and it will once again be on my FanDuel player grid this week. So, yeah, good stuff. Nice little well-built lineup. And the whole idea there is to start with, finding the best values and building the best roster you could from that lower price point. And then you could it kind of gives you a base and a foundation to start from, and then you can pick and choose the spots from that lineup where you want to bump up, use that excess salary. And I've done that a few times and had some really nice lineups in the bigger contests I play, jumping up from, whether it be like he had Charbonnet there, you could have jumped up to Jacobs and spent a bunch of the 5,500 and then made a couple other adjustments and, could have had a contest or a lineup right in contention. So what's up? I'm sure Brian Berg. Hey, Brian. Brian actually is a golfing buddy of mine. Judkins a smash week. I think there's a good chance we'll probably discuss him shortly. And then Larry C, Fantasy Fallout. It is not on YouTube. It is on, so Fantasy Fallout, what he's referring to is we have a daily dose for those who aren't aware. Go to 1 week season and then go on to the top. I'll actually share my screen quick. So if you go to 1 week season and you go to the top under the NFL tab, click on Daily Dose if you're not already. So this is in a scroll, but you can also just subscribe. Click on this box at the top and you can subscribe to the Daily Dose. It is a daily newsletter for season-long fantasy football. But one thing we do every Monday, our newsletter that goes out, it is kind of a bulleted list of all the impactful things with from the fantasy week. Doesn't include the Monday night games, but everything Thursday through Sunday has a breakdown of all those games, kind of a summary of important things there. And then I do a pod with Cheeseman on Mondays that goes, that kind of goes through those things. And I dive a little deeper into what all those things mean and kind of my takeaways and situations and teams and whatnot. So to answer your question, Larry, that is available it's not on YouTube. It is on our Inner Circle feed, but it's also on our public podcast feed. So whatever you use, Spotify, Podcast Addict, Apple, whatever it is, if you just search for 1 week season, you should be able to find it there. And these videos, the audio from these that we do, posts on there as well. And then the Fantasy Fallout pod is there too. I've got like a fly. So if you see me swinging around, that's what's going on. So yeah, sorry, I did a lot of talking. I think it's time. I think we gotta ship her over to you. We'll go ahead and build. Let me pull up my screen and I'll let you take it away, Max.
Cool. So yeah, we've had a great record this year in our practice builds on the quarterback position. The results have varied with the stacking partners, but quarterback-wise, we've been kind of right on top of it every week here. So we're going to start this week with a team that I don't know if we've ever built around this quarterback and team, oddly, in the history of doing this show, for the very reason they're never on the main slate. They're usually an island team, Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night. As odd, their game's actually at 1 o'clock too, as usually more of a West Coast deal. But let's go ahead and build around the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to start with Patrick Mahomes, and let's double stack him with Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce at $5,800. So a lot of people are probably wondering, no Rashee Rice, not in the player grid yet, or maybe not at all for FanDuel this week. I know he's on DraftKings. Kind of wish he was on the FanDuel one though, because completely different receiver from Xavier Worthy. Rashee Rice is a slot guy. Xavier Worthy is more of a perimeter, and they kind of use them in all kinds of different ways. I think Worthy is one more week separated from the injury he was dealing with earlier this season. So I think this will be his third straight start back from that. They're playing an inferior team, of course, the Raiders. They're at home. They've averaged over 28 points a game, 3 straight. And even though there's a lot of good spots to build around this week, guys, as far as the complete game environment goes, and I'm sure some of our colleagues will be covering some of those other games, the Chiefs actually have the highest team total on the slate at almost 29. So I really feel, regardless of any elevation of pushback or bring back, that, Mahomes could get there on efficient, throwing for 2 or 3 touchdowns, maybe running one in, and they can kind of do their damage regardless of pushback from the Raiders. I see Genty at 7,300. There's some other running backs that I like better around his price point this week. Definitely don't need a bring back, in my opinion, for this. And then on the flip side, Mahomes, in addition to averaging over 35 pass attempts this season, he's also rushed for 4 touchdowns this year. So the rushing ability is there for him. In addition to the Chiefs kind of rolling right now, with their offense in general. So kind of like going here to start this build. It's a spot where, like I said, I don't remember even ever covering the Chiefs because they're usually not on the main slate, but kind of like the way that's looking to start. I also like the prices. Worthy at 7,000, Kelsey at 5,800, and even Mahomes for the quarterback spot. He's priced kind of 5th under Drake May at this point. So like that as a start salary wise, like it as far as a spot with a good team total. And then I'll throw it back to you where you may want to go next.
Yeah, I think that's there's a lot there, right? As far as the Rashee Rice, I don't think they're going to add him at this point. It's just one of those things. Fanduel kind of like overlooks some things. The alternative is sometimes they'll do this where they'll like just have these guys that are suspended or injured that have been out a while. They'll just like every week just be throwing them in at 4K, and then all of a sudden they're active, and it's not really a surprise, like to anybody that's paying attention. But then this guy is on the slate at 4K, and it's like a free square. It kind of ruins the slate to a certain degree. It's interesting. I think there would be like on DraftKings, there would be aspects of like game theory as like leverage to build a Mahomes stack without Rice, because Rice will probably be pretty popular there. He is on the slate, and he's not going to be he's not very expensive. He's only 5,600 on DraftKings. But yeah, it's a spot. It's certainly a spot. Kansas City's defense is one that, to me, when I mentioned defenses at the start, they're only 4,500 this week. And I think like the Raiders offense is like really bad. Like even against the Titans, they didn't really look good. The Titans were just, it was a Leicester. The Titans were worse. So but we've seen like they could score, and FanDuel can be touchdown heavy. Like Mahomes could throw 4 touchdowns in the first half, and it wouldn't be like shocking. And so there's no like leverage aspects there. But also I think this offense is going to move the ball basically at will. Geno Smith last week for the Raiders, they were, I don't think he attempted a pass more than 10 air yards, at least through 3 quarters. They put up a stat. I was watching the game, and he hadn't at that point. And I don't think he would have had a reason to after that. I stopped watching, for the sake of my own eyes, not watching any more of what was going on in that game. But it's probably going to be a dink and dunk. They're going to try to protect him. So like early on, there shouldn't be a bunch of early Raiders turnovers, because they're probably going to play super conservative. So if the Chiefs jump out to a big lead in the first half, they're going to have to probably go march the field, 3 or 4 times, and you can put up a ton of yardage in that time frame. And they're kind of on the ropes. They started out the season. They're 3-3 now. But they've, that division, Broncos and Chargers look competitive. So yeah, I think, it could be like they've got all their pieces now. They're going to like use this to tune up rather than shutting things down. So yeah, it's not I like the thought process here, and especially for you, like in your contest, just kind of soaking up, all of that. Like Rice coming back, it's just going to be so hard to cover them. So then now we've got 6,500. So where do we go from here? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna throw DeAndre Swift in here against this Saints team, coming off such a huge game. He'll probably be popular, but so what? This Bears offense, we know Ben Johnson can make his running backs productive, and Swift, he looked incredible on Monday night. The Saints are more susceptible, I would say, through the pass than the run. They rank 28th in DVOA against the pass, and what is it, 9th, I believe? Yeah, 9th against the run. So they are better against the run, but like they're not like a dominant unit. And this price it's just one of those things where if they played that game Sunday afternoon, he'd be 7,200, 7,300 instead of that. So I think we'll go ahead with him. And then to Brian's question, let's go ahead and throw in Quinshon Judkins as well, coming off the game where he was basically game scripted out. They were unable to move the ball, but we've seen this Miami defense the last 2 weeks. Rico Dowdle had his monster game. Kamani Vidal had a big game last week against Miami. So let's just go back to the well there. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw in the Broncos defense here at 4,300 at home facing the Giants. This was a spot where they struggled last week. Their offense did a little bit, but I think people are a little high on the Giants. It was a perfect storm last Thursday when they played the Eagles. Eagles had some defensive injuries. Jalen Carter was a late scratch. Quinyon Mitchell got hurt during the game. So they were able to have a lot of offensive success, but that isn't the normal Eagles team we see. And this is a Broncos defense that they have just been suffocating when they play an offense that is like limited from a talent perspective. They have just been destroying them. And I think, it's been a fun storyline, Dart and Scatterbo and watching them run around and get all jacked up. But I think they're coming back down to earth.
Party's over, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that call. A couple things, rewinding a little bit. So the thing with the Chiefs too, you mentioned it. They're 3-3. I mean, they're 500, facing some other teams that are definitely going to be competing for that division later in the season. So yeah, I think it's actually work things out in game even for the Chiefs against an inferior defense at this point, like the Raiders. So I think Nate Hobbs, he became a free agent. He was probably the only notable guy in the Raiders secondary. So yeah, on that note with the Chiefs, to kind of add on to the thought that with starting with them, also historical narrative, Kelsey's had some of his greatest games against the Raiders, nicknamed the Raiders killer, but not that really necessarily factors into a current thing, but he's been on the uptick a little bit last couple of games. I think signs of life. And so I think at 5,800, it's a safe stacking partner with Mahomes. And then, yeah, I like Swift too, because you know what? It'll be interesting with the ownership because he's not typically a Fanduel type of running back that would see a lot of ownership as a pass catching back. But I definitely love him at home in this spot here. I mean, he looked spry against the Commanders on Monday. I like his price at 6,300. I was curious where you were going to go with the running back because on first sight with me, man, like it seems like it's pretty thin on the lower range, and it seems like it's almost pay up or nothing. But all the pay up guys are on the road, in decent spots, but not like elite spots. And so I do like that Swift call. And then as far as Judkins goes, I actually mentioned him in our FanDuel Discord in my Sunday morning final thoughts that I do. I was probably a week early to the party, but better to be earlier than late, I guess. So yeah, I do like him better in this spot where he won't be game scripted out. And obviously the Broncos defense at home, and that's a pretty good price for an elite defense. So I like where we're going to this point.
Oh yeah, I mean, I want to get Jonathan Taylor in if we can. Just the Chargers, Achane had a monster game. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt had a monster game the week before that. Their run defense is just kind of in shambles, and Taylor has been so rock solid. I think Jacobs is in a great spot as well. I kind of like the idea here of going with Taylor and maybe getting Matthew Golden in there as like a, if you're paying up for running back and you're playing Taylor over Jacobs, kind of leaning into that. But I'll get your thoughts there.
Yeah, I like that. Dontavian Wicks has an ankle injury, I believe, so he's questionable. I mean, it's Wednesday, so we don't know yet, but I don't think Christian Watson is necessarily going to come back yet this week, even though his 21-day window was opened, I think. So, yeah, and Matthew Golden last week, you saw the usage and the involvement. They were definitely getting him more involved on jet sweep type plays, and then just in the deep passing areas.
Yeah, so they were. He's a first-round rookie. They were coming out of their bye, and it was clear that they had like a mandate to get him more involved. He's got a 30-plus yard reception in 3 straight games now, and he had the 2 jet sweeps, the long catch, and he's still priced. He's under $6K there, and it's a spot where I would expect Green Bay's offense to have some success for sure. So, yeah, I mean, if we throw Taylor in there and then with Golden, leaves us with only 5,300 for that last spot. We could also go down at defense. I kind of like the Panthers this week, 3,700. Their defense has actually looked pretty solid this year, especially against the run. And, the Jets are going to be without Garrett Wilson, and they're, their passing game, it was embarrassing last week against Denver. So, like, if Carolina is able to kind of stuff up the run and they're not able to effectively find ways to throw the ball, I think that could be a path we could go down as well. That would leave us with 5,900 for that last receiver spot. I don't know if there's anyone there that you like, or, we can mess around. We don't have to do Taylor and Golden either.
Right. I also like the Browns defense this week against Tua, not a mobile quarterback in Cleveland. Maybe pairing him with Judkins could be another route of doing multiple entries. I like we got Stephon Diggs again. Last week, obviously Drake May had the big blow-up game, but not attached to who we had in our practice build, which was Diggs and Hunter Henry. But Diggs had a horrible, in my opinion, pass interference called against him. He would have had a much better day had that play held up. I mean, May had a really deep throw or deep play to Diggs that got called back on a real ticky-tack call, in my opinion. So, I mean, the overall, the usage isn't not too comfortable with because they do spread it out so much. But based on the salary that we have left, you could definitely go Diggs and against the Titans, could easily be a bounce back spot where they resume kind of getting him involved with the offense. One other receiver I do want to shout out is if we wanted some exposure, I don't think we could do it on this build, but Terry McLaurin at only 6,400 in that Commanders-Cowboys game. Obviously monitor the injury situation, but he should be set to come back for week 7. And Cowboys, one of the worst defenses against deep passing, and that's kind of McLaurin's role back with Jaden Daniels there. So I kind of like him at his price at 6,400. little bit too much for this build, but I thought I'd give Terry a shout out in that game. That's obviously projected to be the big game environment on the slate. But as far as this team goes, I mean, if you wanted to do a bring back, I guess I would bring Jacoby Myers into the fray, although not necessarily needed. Michael Pittman is another one. The Colts play the Chargers. Should be a competitive game in Los Angeles. Pittman fits the price range there, or Pittman or Downs, I guess, for that matter. We also have Rashid Shaheed, although I do like the Bears defense this week. Still has the big playability. So there's definitely options. What says you?
I also really like Jordan Addison. Coming off their bye week, I expect J.J. McCarthy to be back. There's a chance he's not. But, Addison's a guy we saw last year. He had a stretch where he was putting up some some massive numbers. I'm trying to pull it up here. But so in half PPR on, which is what Fanduel is, of course, Addison missed the start to last season, but or he had an ankle injury early in the season, but he had games of 21, 26, 35, 16, 14. He had a bunch of big games. He was like a top 20 wide receiver. The Eagles defense, so there's two things at play here. I talked about it briefly. They lost Quinyon Mitchell, their all-pro cornerback. He left mid-game last week. It's unclear if he will play, but if he does play, he would probably be in a shadow role on Jefferson, which would, and Addison, if McCarthy's back, Addison would fit really well there. They had incredible chemistry in the preseason training camp. We're really kind of locked in together. I also was talking briefly with some people in our Discord about McCarthy coming back this week because, if you look at the totality, a lot of people want to kind of write him off and say, the perception is that he's bad, right? Because he played 2 games. Basically, he had a great fourth quarter in week 1, and otherwise the other 7 quarters were not very good. But you look at it and it's like, okay, well, his opening game, there's no Jordan Addison in that game. Addison was suspended. They played the Bears. It's his rookie debut. There's got to be some jitters. He didn't start well. He didn't play well, but he put it together really late. And then week 2, he looked awful. But now it's like, okay, that was against the Falcons, and the Falcons defense looks pretty damn good. We saw what they just did to Josh Allen. They're like the number 1 defense in DVOA, I believe, at this point. So it's like, maybe we shouldn't be writing off J.J. McCarthy so quick. And with what Addison can do, I think, he was a guy that was priced in the mid 7Ks last year at one point. So I really like the idea of getting him involved here. So I tooled around a couple things there. If we went away from Golden and went away from Taylor, so then we get Addison and Jacobs involved, and we can get back to the Broncos defense. So I guess we'll leave Diggs. I also want to go down the narrative street. The Patriots, Mike Vrabel.
Absolutely.
So I think revenge things are totally overblown. I think we talked about this last week. I think in many spots they're overblown. Like Rico Dowdle, that's fun to talk about, but at the end of the day, he's just a pretty good player, and their running game is pretty solid. Dave Canales' offense's backfield production is good, and the Cowboys just leak it. They just give it up. But I think in most cases these spots are it's built up to mean more than it does. But the cases where it does matter, I think, the David Montgomery one, where it's going to alter decision making. And I think Vrabel could just go in there and just keep the. I mean, is there any more Is there any, they just fired their coach. Is there any more clear of a spot where if he has the chance, he can just run through it? And it did seem like he made a big deal about like Diggs and his revenge against Buffalo. So I like the Diggs call, just, coming off, he was chalk and kind of failed. Him kind of returning the favor, I guess, for Vrabel, posting a big game to help Vrabel get his revenge of his own. So let's leave the rest of it, and I'll let you choose. Do you want to go Addison, Jacobs, Broncos, or do you want to go Golden, Taylor, Panthers?
Well, those are 2 of 5 entry possibilities right there.
Right.
It's funny, you indicated an inadvertent early blind spot for me, because I didn't realize Jordan Addison's price at 6,100. That's a really good price for him coming back, or for resuming, I should say. They're on a bye week. And then the Vrabel thing, I mean, they just fired Brian Callahan prematurely, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know what the Titans are doing, and I know Vrabel's was pretty unceremonious as well, so I could definitely see that rare, to your point, narrative of putting the screws to him with Vrabel coming back with the Patriots now. It's amazing, the Titans fire Vrabel, and now he's at the top of the AFC East at 3 or 4-2 with the Patriots. Talk about a wrong decision there. But yeah, no, I like it the way we have it. I mean, Josh Jacobs is always I believe he's late again, so that's perfect for the flex spot as well. Actually, is the I guess both those games are in the late window, the Colts and the Chargers too, but even more reason why you can kind of play around with that maybe too, based on what you need and how your team's doing. So yeah, let's keep it like this. I like the first instinct. I definitely like the Addison call. It'll be interesting to see if McCarthy officially comes back, but even with Wentz, it's, Addison could still be productive, I think, with Quinyon Mitchell potentially down for the Eagles, or not down, but like you were saying, the potential shadow on Justin Jefferson there. So yeah, I say we keep it as is.
Sounds good. Okay, so for the podcast listeners that do not have the video, the final roster we've got here is Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. Got a double stack there with Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce. Running backs are DeAndre Swift and Quinshon Judkins with Josh Jacobs. 3 running back build. Jacobs in the flex, playing in the late game. Other receivers are Jordan Addison with hopefully J.J. McCarthy back at quarterback, and having a matchup either benefiting from Quinyon Mitchell shadowing Justin Jefferson, or just being a part of this Vikings passing game facing a depleted Eagles secondary. Stephon Diggs returning the favor for Mike Vrabel in his own revenge, and the Denver Broncos crashing the party, ruining the Bash Brothers fun with their defense at only 4,300. So I feel pretty good about this one as well. The Rice thing is interesting. Now that I said that, watch them go ahead and add Rice to the player pool, and we got to rethink the whole thing. But I think that's a pretty good build. You have any parting shots or thoughts for the week?
Well, that was going to be my question: is do you feel that they are going to add him at some point during the week? I find it hard to believe that they won't, but I don't know. I guess that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. They're hard. They're hard to predict what they're going to do and when they're going to do it. Like, just the fact that this is that he's not on there to begin with. There's been a couple other times this year where it's guys who weren't as impactful to the slate, but similar situations didn't get added. And then just, I don't know what their rules are or how they handle it, because Rice coming back from suspension, it's just with the actual roster move, I think it isn't until maybe Saturday that they actually activate him. So I don't know if FanDuel's position is well, we're not going to add a guy until he's activated, and then that's too late to activate him. So I think that's kind of probably how it will go, but we'll see.
monitor your site on Saturday night, guys, and Sunday morning, just in case they do some crazy overnight thing. He's been added to the player pool.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, good stuff. Well, thank you all for joining us once again. oneweekseason.com. Check us out on Twitter. Come check us out. Check out our site. We have our free level of subscription, and then we have lots of things going on the site as well. We got, the prices are a little bit discounted because we're almost halfway through the season here. But we do provide content all the way through the Super Bowl. We've got the Bink Machine Optimizer. We've got a Sims package that you can add on to that as well. So with all that said, thank you again. We will be back same time, same place next week. Thank you and good luck, Maximus. We'll see you soon.
1 week season.